Hey, good evening, everybody. I do not have my lights on, so that's why this video will seem a little dark. But I wanted to capture in this moment some of the more meditative things I was thinking about. Right now, I do feel in a meditative state. I'm just sitting up here. Um, and the main thing that I was thinking about that inspired me to record right now is that I do my absolute best to live in the moment and live who I am and as I am all the time. And it's very, very hard to explain how to do that. So hopefully the energy that's coming off right now comes through to you guys and you can sense something at least. You are always who you are, and you're always in the present moment. And that's not to sound like that you have to wrap your head around this idea of what the present moment is. But no matter what you're doing, or no matter what activity you think you need to do in order to feel like, hey, this is the only way I can be myself, is if I go and do this or something along those lines, that you can always be yourself, even if you're just sitting here like me doing this. The feeling that I feel right now in my entire body, literally, and in my mind, and in my self beyond the body, so to say. You could call it soul, you could call it whatever you want. It's not soul in the religious aspect necessarily, but it's that energy that's there that is definitely beyond just identifying ourselves as a body. And I feel that just sitting here, literally doing absolutely nothing but just, for example, for me right now, having the TV on to the channel that I want and sitting in the spot that I want to sit in and just being. It's very hard to explain, but hopefully the energy comes across. And that's really what I was sort of meditating on. I guess not sort of, that was one of the primary things of what I was spontaneously, naturally meditating on, was just how you're who you are no matter where you're at or what you're doing. And I was thinking about how for me that's progressed, and I can understand my progression and the differences in different situations and circumstances, things like that, where I do feel like I'm myself, but I also feel the evolution of myself and being free to continue that evolution and not feel like I have to stay static in something. However, there are things that I stay static in, but it's natural that I do that. But then it's natural when I want to change things as well. And it's an interesting thing to realize because when you go through those changes and you recognize it, you do realize yourself changing. You can literally feel it. I always think of it like if I could feel what a tree would feel like when it's growing, that's what it feels like. Is it's not necessarily something that's happening super quickly, but you can feel that growth. And I have felt that for quite a long time, but it's always interesting when you can kind of sense that happening. And for me, I feel when I think about certain things that, yeah, I was in the moment, but I also feel that as I'm in the moment now, that I wouldn't necessarily need to do those exact things to feel in the moment now, because when you're in the moment now, you're in the moment now. And the best way to describe it is you just sense what you think is best for you to do now, regardless of how perfect other moments have been in your life. And the reason for those perfect moments is because I believe, anyway, that more often than not, the reason we feel that way is, and the reason we describe it in that way is because we were just ourselves in that moment, and we're paying homage to that moment by however we describe it. You could say writing a poem. A lot of poetry, I think, reflects what it was like to be in a certain moment. There's many different examples, and I just want to use that one example without going into other ones, but whatever you can think of that is similar to that, that is just as good of an answer as me using poetry as an answer. I've been able to live more and more in the moment, even though I felt like I was already, which is a good thing because the deepening of living in the moment just you just keep feeling yourself and you keep being yourself, and that's just what happens. And it's only because of my doing of that I get to those points. And there are other factors, of course, as well, but you should never think that you don't have a certain amount of input on you getting to the state of your life either, because you do. You live your life, you live as yourself, and that is an important factor in progressing to those different states of being, to the different states of understanding what it means to be in the moment. And for example, in some of my other videos that are a little older, which aren't a lot older, which when I made them would have been from at the point of the time of this video would have been roughly 2 months ago, that's not a whole lot of time between then and now. And I feel that there's a lot of progress for me personally between those points. And that kind of stuff has happened for me quite often. But because I'm so used to certain changes, certain very large changes in my life, that it feels like that those changes have already happened, and that it's not to say you don't feel other changes, but it seems like, well, okay, like that's a pretty significant change. But it's always interesting to me when those things keep progressing, and it's always okay to me if it's gotten to a certain point, but it's always good when I feel the growth of that without feeling like it's forced or that it's taking a risk, because it's not. You're just naturally growing. And just like a tree grows, and that is how I think of it, just like a tree growing. It's very hard to explain, but that's also a good thing, because it's not something that is explainable anyway. And what the thing that's unexplainable is how you sense yourself and your energy, because the way you sense yourself and your energy is beyond our bodily function, and our mind and brain is part of that bodily function. And when you go beyond that, when you really truly do realize that, there's no way to explain that, but you know it and you realize it and you understand it in that sense that it is something beyond. And like I said, it's not something to be tied to a religious aspect or a spiritual aspect in terms that we have a spirit, so to say, but there is something that we can know and understand that is beyond just the functions of our mind. In those few seconds before where I wasn't saying anything, where that silence is there, that's what that is, that's beyond your mind, is that that energy that's there, that you have no thought, but yet you're here, and it's beyond your body, it's beyond your mind. And all you have to do is know that. You don't have to worry about trying to understand it, because you know it. The understanding part of it is our brain and logical part that has a purpose, but that which is beyond that has given rise to our brain and our thought functions and our logic. It's like I said in one of my previous videos, where if you imagine yourself as a sphere of energy and lines coming out of it are your thoughts, those lines are also your brain and your body, because you can go beyond it. And the fact that you can go beyond it means that there is something more than just our bodily functions, than our mind, our brain. Once you are aware of that, once you truly do realize that, and you can't realize it through your logic, through your brain, through your mind, you can use your brain and your mind as a tool to help you. And I have done that, yes, and that's perfectly normal for everybody to do. That's more of what its purpose is. So, in that sense, you can use your brain and your mind to read certain things or repeat certain mantras that help you get to that state. And in this moment right now, where I talk and then I stop, if you can get to that point, then you've gone beyond your mind and your body. Not necessarily an out-of-body experience, although that is one way to look at it. You do not need to have that in order to feel this. I think everybody would maybe feel it differently, but what you feel is basically no brain activity with your thought, and you feel very relaxed, and there's a sensation going throughout your body, and that's normal. And I believe that a lot of people don't feel this way on a regular basis. I know that there were times in my life where I haven't, and now it's very much more normal than not, which is why I believe that most of the population doesn't, even though it's not anything special to one person or a group of people. It is our inherent nature, and it's our nature, I believe, for everything, not just humans, but everything. And when I take these breaths, that is just my body being natural. There's no force in that, and that's the way to do it. I know that I have mentioned that there are mantras you can repeat, and I think right now I can't formulate anything specific, but I will keep in mind to try and do a video with some of that kind of stuff. Mantras help you get to that point. It's not to say that it's going to work, or that there's a time frame when it will work, or that certain words pieced together will work. But like I said, I will try and keep in mind to do another video on that, and if I feel that I want to do that, I will do that. I have used mantras and used different things, and I do continue to. It just depends on what I feel like doing. I can't force it, and even at this state, I don't worry about it, because if that's what I want to do, then that's what I do. But I also know now that that alone isn't going to necessarily, it's not going to do something or solve something, so to say, but it does help. And it has been something that is, from time to time, gotten me back to that state of beyond my body and mind. And in these moments where I'm silent and not forcing words to come out of my mouth, and at those seconds before just now, I didn't have anything in my mind either. It was silent. And sometimes when I am not speaking to you guys here in this video, there are thoughts, but sometimes there's not. It's all about what's coming through naturally. That's what's important. And I would continue this video for as long as I would want to, but unfortunately I'm actually running out of space and recording time. So, as much as I don't want to necessarily end it, I do not want to try and force myself to go through and clear out space to record either. So that's part of the moment sometimes. You just have to look at things and go, okay, you know, what is me in this moment, and what is it that I feel is natural to do no matter what's going on, and eventually it will feel more and more normal, and you'll see the changes in your life. So, okay. That's a good note to end it on. I will try and keep doing more of these as I feel spontaneously wanting to do so, and I always hope that it helps you guys and that it's inspirational. And if you have questions on anything, just let me know. I don't always have answers. I'm not trying to act like I do, but I like to offer that. Okay. I will see you guys at another time. Thank you.